Turn one soul ring.
I should gotta whisper.
I should whisper this part.
ASMR.
Yeah. Yeah, I should. So what's been going on with you, buddy?
Oh, not much. Not much. Just been working and minding my own business.
That's good. That's good. Did you do a in-person pre-release event for Crimson Vow?
No, not for Crimson Vow. I did for Midnight Hunt, but Crimson Vow, I don't know what it was. I guess I just wasn't quite excited for this set as I have been for previous sets.
How was that? I don't know if we talked about that. Like that kind of, because that was your first like in-person LGS experience after the pandemic, right? The Midnight Hunt pre-release event.
Yeah, I went to one of the game stores in the city, and different than like the game store I'd usually go to, still is not putting on events.
Yeah, that's
but
right.
One of the other game stores in the city was putting on a pre-release, and they limited it to, I think, 8 people per event, and you had to be double vaccinated. Show your vaccine card. So that was nice, and then it was flat pricing, so meaning that everybody got the same amount of pricing. Just to, I guess they phrased it as just in case you're not feeling comfortable, you can just take your pricing and
That's
go.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that was fair. And it was just fun. It was fun to play in person again, because it's something obviously we haven't been able to do in almost 2 years. Yeah. I overall I had a good time, and the set was fun. I drafted a Dimir zombie deck, so that worked out really well. I opened a Gissa, and she's a house.
Yeah. Yes, she is.
And then for this set, I don't know. I guess I just wasn't quite excited about it, or at least not excited enough about it that I would go out of my way for a pre-release.
Yeah, and that makes sense. Yeah, and I'm not, I'm not someone who's as keen on the limited format as you are. So even in the best of times, I don't go out of my way to go to a pre-release. But yeah, I still haven't gone to back to a game store to play. I know Fusion's been having events for a while now, and I actually like their system because you pre-register online. So, I think it kind of forces people, this may be wishful thinking, but I think it kind of forces people to arrive on time. It certainly makes people want to be there because you've already paid to be there. But yeah, I was thinking about maybe checking out some kind of event. Their event schedule hasn't really changed. It's still like Commander Wednesday, Modern Thursday, Limited Friday, and you know what they're doing? They're doing Pioneer again on Sundays. So I don't know who's coming out for that, but I definitely miss playing Mono Green Stompy and Pioneer. I have to take a look at that deck and see if it needs any upgrades from the past 2 years. Yeah,
I mean, there's been some great cards for Mono Green Stompy.
Oh yeah,
there's gotta have been, because I mean, I'm thinking like a Werewolf Pack Leader.
Yeah.
Like that thing is just a house.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, we're talking about Magic. This is a Magic podcast. It's Turn One Soul Ring. I'm Kevin.
And I'm Riley.
And today on the show, we are wrapping up our Crimson Vow set review. So if you're familiar with our set reviews, then you know that they're not exhaustive. We cover the cards we're interested in playing with in the formats that we play. And over the past couple of weeks, we've covered the Color Pie, the Wooburg part of it anyway. But what you may not know is it keeps going, because we still have to talk about the gold, colorless, and land cards. And those are all consonants, so I'm not even going to try to make a word out of that. So, without any further ado, our first gold card today is Ancient Lumberknot. And actually, when this card was spoiled, I read the name as Ancient Lumberjack. Just, we can just accredit that to my mild dyslexia. And I'm like, why would a tree folk also be a lumberjack? And then I'm like, oh, I read the card properly. But anyways.
Yeah. Bit of a carnivore.
Yeah. So it's it's 2, a black and a green for a 1/4 tree folk. Each creature you control with toughness greater than its power assigns combat damage to its toughness rather than its power. It's too bad this wasn't in Bant colors. That would have been nice.
Bant tree folk?
No, for Arcades.
Or are you thinking Arcades? Oh yeah.
But Bant tree folk is good. Isn't Doran's
is Absent.
Right, yeah.
Which, I mean, this fits perfectly into a Doran deck, like a nice secondary commander.
Or Kolfanor as well.
Yeah, so I mean, I've always liked the idea of putting together a tree folk tribal deck, and this is perfect for that. Like, it's actually a decent tree folk.
Yeah.
So I think that's the big thing that has going for it, is there's a lot of shitty tree folks out there.
Yeah. Yeah, and we did get that new. We got a new Doran, didn't we, from Commander Legends, or is that just a different legend altogether?
It was Kolfanor.
It was Kolfanor. That's right. That's what it was. Yeah. I've always wanted to build a tree folk deck too, but I feel like Arcades fills that. Yeah. That for me, because it's
like the toughness matters.
Yeah, the toughness matters thing. And you can't do like Bant tree folk because there aren't any blue ones. But anyways, next up we have Anje, Maid of Dishonor. She's 2 black-red for a 4/5 legendary vampire, and whenever she and or one or more other vampires enter the battlefield under your control, create a blood token. This ability triggers only once each turn, and in case you forgot, a blood token is an artifact with pay 1, tap, discard a card, sacrifice this artifact, draw a card. And she has an activated ability, pay 2, sacrifice another creature or a blood token. Each opponent loses 2 life, and you gain 2 life. 4 mana, 4/5. I mean, what else do you want? She's on a chaise lounge. Just the stats right there. I like the card.
I was gonna say she's a 4 mana 4/5.
Yeah,
just vanilla 4 mana 4/5. No, I mean, I like the trigger only once each turn is a little.
Yeah, it's a little watered down.
Disappointing. Yeah. I mean, getting a blood token, there might be something you can do with having that extra artifact or just that permanent that sacrifices itself. So there might be something there. But overall, paying 2 and having to sacrifice something to drain for 2, it's fine, but like that's a pretty steep cost. Like, it adds up quick.
Yeah, it does.
So
yeah, and I think that's probably why they watered down her ETB effect, is so that you couldn't just make like an infinite amount of creature tokens, for example, and then make an infinite amount of mana and just drain everybody out. I mean, that's a lot of moving pieces, so I don't think that was really necessary, but yeah, 4 mana 4/5. What do you want? Next is Brine Comber. It's our first transform card today. It's on the front side. It costs 1, a white and a blue for a 1/1 spirit, and when it enters the battlefield or becomes the target of an aura spell, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying, and it has disturb for a white and a blue. And the flip side is Brinebound Gift. It's an aura, enchants a creature. Whenever Brinebound Gift enters the battlefield or enchanted creature becomes the target of an aura spell, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. And of course, if it would be put into the graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead.
I mean, just trying to wrap my head around this. Okay, so when it enters the battlefield or becomes the target of an aura spell, you create a spirit. Okay, so it's just a 1/1 though.
Yeah, it's a 3 mana 1/1.
Right?
It's a
3 mana 1/1.
Yes, and you're getting, so it's like 3 mana for like
creates a spirit
2/2, and one of them has flying, and then you have to target it, and then it's basically the same thing on the backside.
Okay, I mean, if you really care about auras, maybe, but I don't know. Like, what were you? Did you have any ideas for this?
No, I didn't put it on the list.
Did I put this on the list? What?
I think so.
What am I thinking? Maybe I'm thinking like a Voltron aura strategy.
Yeah,
because
like
that.
something
to cast from the
Tuvasa, but I mean, it would be better if it was just like the backside for Azorius mana, and then you just get this effect, right? And then you get a bunch of 1/1s, because like in a Voltron strategy, having those 1/1s is helpful for edict effects and also just chump blocking.
That's fair.
So I always think about cards like that.
Yeah, and if you're in like Bant Enchantress colors, there's strategies that involve the graveyard, so there might be opportunities for you to pitch this card to the graveyard and then cast it on as an enchantment from your graveyard. So kind of like a flashback enchantment spell. I guess that's got something going for it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not super impactful by any means, but I don't know. Interesting card.
Yeah, and I think it's we've talked about that a bit with these disturb cards, where it seems like the real power is the flip side, and of course, because you have to jump through hoops to get to it. But if you're in a strategy that can just discard them, then that's for some of them. Of course, not all of them, but this one I feel is better in the strategies we discussed. So, and next up is another transform card. It's Dorothea, Vengeful Victim. It's a blue and a white for a 4/4 legendary spirit with flying, and when it attacks or blocks, sacrifice it at the end of combat. And it has disturb for 1, a white, and a blue. And on the flip side is Dorothea's Retribution. It's an aura that enchants a creature. Enchanted creature has, whenever this creature attacks, create a 4/4 white spirit creature token with flying that's tapped and attacking. Sacrifice that token at the end of combat. And if it would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. So it's sort of like
Geist of Saint Traft.
Yes. And then they did that aura when they or is Geist of Saint Traft from the second time we went to Innistrad? Because there's also that aura that's like Geist of Saint Traft. That's just a straight up aura.
Ooh,
And that might be from Shadows over Innistrad. I feel like I saw that card a fair bit when I was drafting that set. But anyways, I certainly don't remember what it's called. But it was good and limited.
Looks like he was from original Innistrad.
Okay, then I'm thinking of a card from Shadows.
Yeah,
but yeah,
kind of a cool card. Like, I guess you could run her as your commander. That'd be kind of weird. But at least in this case, like, you're probably getting. I don't think you would be swinging if you're running this in commander. You're probably just gonna put her on the battlefield for 2 mana and have like a nice blocker or like a deterrent for the early stages of the game, right?
Yeah.
People aren't just gonna run their random dorks into this thing. And then once it does eventually die, you have that ability to, maybe run a Voltron strategy and put this. It's a pretty strong aura. That's a pretty strong ability. Just getting a 4/4 each combat.
Yep.
That's swinging and attacking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with an evasive ability. Is that Teferi in the art in the back? No, he doesn't need a spirit for help.
It does. No, I don't think so.
Well, yeah. All right.
Maybe it is. I know. Like Teferi was in the previous set.
Yeah.
I don't know why he'd be swinging with a sword though.
Yeah, he doesn't really use a sword. He just uses magic.
No. He just uses time.
That's right. Edgar, Charmed Groom is next. It's a transform card. The front side is 2 white-black for a 4/4 legendary vampire noble. Other vampires you control get +1/+1. And when Edgar, Charmed Groom dies, return it to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control. Flip side is Edgar Markov's Coffin. Legendary artifact. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a 1/1 white and black vampire creature token with lifelink and put a blood counter on Edgar Markov's Coffin. Then, if there are 3 or more bloodline counters on it, remove those counters and transform it. This just seems like obviously a good vampire commander, not terribly powerful, but I like how sticky it is.
Yeah, you definitely got that coffin ability where you can just take your time if you've got time instead of having to recast Edgar.
Mm-hmm.
Just let him brew for a bit,
Yeah.
come back, recharge,
Take a nap. Yeah.
And then you get some vampires out of it too. So his anthem ability is that much more potent.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree. Like it's a good vampire commander option. There's tons of vampire commander options, but it's no like OG Edgar, which is just like CEDH level broken.
Yeah.
So I like that. Like I like having options that are a little bit powered down, or at least a little bit more moderately tuned for the table. Like that's one thing that I've been trying to explore recently is not trying to trying to put limits on my decks that I know can be unpleasant to even pilot. Like I'm thinking of Tulane. Like I went with Tulane, the Hippos and Friends deck, with the idea that the hippo is going to limit my deck building ability and slow me down. But it got to this point where it's like every game I'm barfing my deck out on the table, and I've got so many triggers and moving pieces that it's like overwhelming, and I'm just not that it's not that enjoyable.
Not loving it. We don't like it either.
So yeah, I know. And it's like it's not fun for anybody, really. Like at the end of the day, it's like that's not my intent with the deck. I thought it was a funny idea, and sure enough, it's kind of funny in concept, but in practice, it's just kind of a lot to pilot.
Yeah, and then
I turned it into the Lonus deck, and I've been enjoying that deck. That deck's actually pretty fun. I've kind of like the synergies between tokens and artifacts and creatures, and trying to find all those cool synergies there.
Yeah, I gotta say though, for this, the original Edgar from Commander 2017, the art on that card is amazing. I don't like the art on the regular printing of Edgar Charmed Groom. I don't like the alternate art. I don't like any of the art, so it's just kind of it's not great.
Just an old man.
And I think I saw a meme of him like it's like before he got married, it's like the OG Edgar art, and then like after he's getting married or he's about to get married, like in the story in this set, and he looks like this. So that happens, everybody. So don't get married. Okay, moving on. Well, I mean, none of the hosts of this show are married, so I feel okay saying that. We're just coupled.
Yeah. Just in committed relationships.
Yeah, not the same thing. You need a piece of paper. Okay?
Yeah.
So next we have Ruth, Tormented Prophet. It's 1 blue-red for a 2/4 legendary human wizard. If you would draw a card, exile the top 2 cards of your library instead. You may play those cards this turn.
I think this is a pretty cool take on kind of like a spellslinger option. Just in the sense that it turns your cantrips into, I guess, like double impulse draws, right? Mm-hmm. That's exactly what it's doing. Yeah. But I think in like a storm build or spellslinger build, like this could be a pretty strong engine in itself. I don't think you want to go too high on the CMC. I think cantrips and like cheap spells and spells that generate mana, like that's probably going to be the route that's going to work best with Ruth. Is it Ruth?
Ruth.
But she almost reminds me of Riel. But Riel, I think, is a little bit stronger in the sense that her power gets bigger too.
Yeah.
So you can do cool Voltron strategies.
Yeah. But this is definitely like, you see a card like this and you're like, wow, I could really just swing for the fences with this thing, Just
think of all the game actions.
Yeah, for sure. Because it's just drawing a card. It's not like other than the card you draw at your draw step. Like it's just drawing a card. And I like that it's a 2/4 body. It's just it's a solid.
Not gonna get bolted anytime soon.
No way. And with all the bolts flying around in Commander, like you need it. You need it. Grolnok the Omnivore is next. It's 2 green-blue for a 3/3 legendary frog. Whenever a frog you control attacks, mill 3 cards. Whenever a permanent card is put into your graveyard from your library, exile it with a croak counter on it. You may play land cards and cast spells from among cards you own in exile with croak counters on them. So finally, Frog Tribal, everybody.
Croak Tribal.
Croak Tribal.
I mean, this is a pretty cool take on like a land's mill matters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yep.
We saw Slogurk the Overslime in the last set, which is in the same Simic colors. So you definitely have some options, but it's definitely got some like Gitrog vibes. Not in a broken way, but in like you're milling yourself and, you know, croaking your cards.
Yeah, and there's something sticking out of its mouth too, so similar in that way also with the art. But yeah, and I mean, I don't know how many frogs are in the game. I haven't done a keyword search yet, but you know, again, we have changelings and stuff, so you could really make this work for you and just do like a fun lands thing. So, and it's just like a ton of card advantage.
And it doesn't have to be Grolnok. That's a name. It doesn't have to be Grolnok milling. It could be anything milling.
Yeah.
So you could do other self-mill strategies.
Sure.
And you're in blue and green. There's ways to do it. Like some dredge stuff in green. I'm thinking like Golgari Grave Troll.
Or just do Grolnok Persistent Petitioners. There you go.
And then you get more Persistent Petitioners every time you mill yourself.
That's right. I love it.
So, you know, like you've got that Chulane
deck.
That's
I think not anymore. That's over.
Yeah, you're Grolnok.
Yeah, I'm gonna go full Grolnok. Yeah, I'm gonna take Gitrog and Chulane, and I'm just gonna like strip them for parts for your old Grolnok.
Yeah. You know, that actually sounds kind of fun. Yeah. And I think that's kind of the theme. Like I kind of alluded to it earlier. It's like, I think what they're going for is trying to, I guess, tone down their legendaries in a way that they fit like a particular niche, or they fit a niche strategy to the point where it's not like a Chulane or like a Corvald or like an Edgar Markov where it's just like power, just go. It's like, no, you have to jump through some hoops, but then you can have a funny game.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Halana and Alina, partners. But we're not talking partner commanders here. It's 2 red-green for a 2/3 legendary human ranger. It has first strike, reach, and at the beginning of combat, on your turn, put X 1/1 counters on another target creature you control, where X is their power. That creature gains haste until end of turn.
That's kind of a cool take on like Xenagos kind of ability.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah, and it's nice that they're counters, so they stick around too, right? So you can just kind of do like almost like a Voltron-y / go wide strategy, where you just like make Halana and Elena thick and then just distribute the wealth.
Oh yeah, yep. The art on this card's kind of, I don't know, it's too like photorealistic for me. I don't like it.
That's fair. I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's the lighting.
Yeah.
The lighting is very stark.
Yeah.
But then they're in the woods, so it's like I don't know where that light is coming from. You know?
Yeah.
It just makes them pop in a weird way.
Old Rustine is next. It's 1 black-green for a 1/4 legendary human peasant. So if you ever wanted to make a peasant tribal deck, here you go.
This is your boy.
When Old Rustine enters the battlefield, or at the beginning of your upkeep, mill a card. If a land card is milled this way, create a treasure token. If a creature card is milled this way, create a 1/1 green insect creature token. If a non-creature, non-land card is milled this way, create a blood token. I had I still have it, but when I'd go and play disc golf, I had a grabber, and I call it Rustine. So,
yeah,
you know, I know what's going on here. I get it.
I mean, if you care about creating tokens incidentally on your upkeep, I guess this is the 1/4 for you.
Yeah, it's too bad it's not like, you know, kind of like Grolnok, where it's just like anytime a card is milled.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
That would have been nice.
That would have been a lot more exciting.
Yeah.
Probably borderline broken.
Yeah,
because you'd be like generating treasures and creatures and ability to like accelerate through your deck. Yeah.
So yeah, it's not That might have been too good.
Yeah. I think they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
At this point in the game, I think they know what they're doing.
Okay, so Olivia Crimson Bride is next. It's 4 black-red for a 3/4 legendary vampire noble. She has flying and haste, and whenever she attacks, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped and attacking. It gains when you don't control a legendary vampire. Exile this creature. She's getting married.
Congratulations.
So this is kind of like anytime a creature has haste, I'm on board, especially if it's legendary. I don't like it that it's like a 6 mana 3/4, but I think you have to kind of look at it from like what you're going to be getting out of the graveyard for free and then hanging on to. So, it's a 6 mana 3/4 flying haste. So you're probably going to be able to swing at somebody that can't block. And then, if you're getting something that at least has comparable stats out of the graveyard, then the mana cost is worth it.
Yeah, you could do like an extra combat reanimator strategy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it does feel very like Kalia of the Vast to me. And, I think if you wanted to accelerate cards into your graveyard, you could do that. Whereas with Kalia, oftentimes having the right cards in your hand was the issue. But I think I think we can agree I don't know if it's easier to get cards into your graveyard, but there's definitely more room in general.
Yeah, red's good at pitching cards and looting.
Yeah. So,
or rummaging, I should say.
Yeah, I would. I most of the time when I see a Rakdos legendary, I do have a hankering to build around it, and I really don't feel any different about this one. Next up is a transform card. It's Runo Stromkirk. On the front side, it's 1 blue-black for a 1/4 legendary vampire cleric with flying, and when it enters the battlefield, put up to 1 target creature card from your graveyard on top of your library. Then at the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. You may reveal that card. If a creature card with mana value 6 or greater is revealed this way, transform Runo Stromkirk. And the flip side is Crothus, Lord of the Deep. It's a 3/5 legendary Kraken horror Lord of the Deep with flying, and when it attacks, create a tapped and attacking token that's a copy of another target attacking creature. If that creature is a Kraken, Leviathan, Octopus, Serpent, or Lord of the Deep, create 2 of those tokens instead.
Lord of the Deep struggle.
Hashtag Lord of the Deep struggle is real.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bit of a house. I mean, at the end of the day, like, how do you flip them? It's just about
yeah, it's got to be 6. It's got to be a creature. Got to be 6 or greater.
Okay. So it's like big boy tribal.
Yeah, it would have to be. And then, the flip side works with that too, because you'd want to be copying another attacking creature that's also a big boy.
Because then you get 2 out of them.
But only if I think what would really make this card a home.
He's got flying. Like, you gotta reread it a few times, but he does have flying on the flips.
Yeah,
on both sides.
Yeah, what would really make this card a home run for me is if the creature you revealed that's 6 or more, if you also got to just put that card into play.
That would be broken.
Well, yeah. I don't think it'd be too bad. It doesn't have haste.
Oh, I know, but you're also in blue. You've got like top deck manipulation.
Yeah, that's true.
You just like brainstorm a 6-drop on top of your library on like turn 4 and then copy it a bunch of times.
Yeah, okay, I could see how that could get out of hand. Yeah, that's right. He is only a 3 mana 1/4 with flying. Yeah, so yeah, this could be fun. This could be a lot of fun. And then you get to say Lord of the Deep all the time.
Exactly.
Skull Scab is next. It's a blue and a black for a 2/2 zombie. It has exploit, so when it enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice a creature. And whenever a creature you control exploits a non-token creature, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token.
Yeah, they had to put the safety valve on there.
Yeah. Right? So
I mean, like, you're running a zombie deck, you're running blue and black. Zombies like sacrificing or sacrifice effects.
Yeah.
They like to see things die. You're getting a zombie out of the deal. Well, 2 zombies out of the deal. I think it's just a solid role player.
Yeah, because you're going to be getting value off of all those cards that you're running that care about like you said, creatures dying, sacrificing things. So
Yeah. And there might even be enough there for like an exploit themed deck too, because we saw like exploit show up in Dragons of Tarkir, and now we're getting some more support in this set as well. So they're, slowly gaining exploit mechanics. So might be something there.
yeah, as long as it's not just a deck full of, like, Grave Packs and Dictative Erebos, because no one's going to want to play with that person.
That's fair.
Tauren's First of the Angels is next. He's 1 green-white for a 2/2 legendary human cleric. He has training, so whenever this creature attacks with another creature with greater power, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. Kind of reminds me of Evolve. Whenever you cast a creature spell, create a 1/1 green and white human soldier creature token that also has training. Getting trained.
Yeah, it's the opposite of Mentor.
It is the opposite of Mentor. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Man, it would be cool if he had training and Mentor.
Yeah, it would be.
I mean, that would be pretty cool. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you create a human. So, I mean, Selesnya creatures, train your boy. I don't know. All right. That's what I got. Just cast a bunch of creatures, make some extra tokens bigger along the way. Do some anthem effects. Swing for the fences.
Play Concordant Crossroads, and
hopefully nobody plays propaganda against you.
Oh God, propaganda! Get out of here.
Yeah, come on. I have to pay 2?
I'm not paying 2. I'm just gonna wait until I draw something to blow up that propaganda, and I'm in the perfect colors for it, so it's not sticking around.
Just jam some Rex Sages.
Oh yeah, that's perfect. Give them training. Vials.
They should reprint Rex Sage with training.
They should. Yeah. Just call it Reclamation Training Sage.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's gonna fit, but they certainly seem to be able to squeeze things into the text box. Vial Spawn Spider is next. It's a green and a blue for a 2/3 spider with reach. At the beginning of your upkeep, mill a card. Then you can pay 2, a green and a blue, tap it, sacrifice it, then create a 1/1 green insect creature token for each creature card in your graveyard. Activate only as a sorcery.
I like this card. I mean, a little odd that it's Simic Spider. It would have been nice if it was like a Golgari Spider or something like that. I think that would have been more up the alley of all of our spider enthusiasts out there.
Definitely. Yeah, that's a good point.
But overall, like it's like a spider spawning on a stick.
Yeah.
That also has some incidental mill for only 2 mana. So I think it's a nice little speed bump, nice little role player.
Yeah. And it's a 2 mana 2/3. Like those are good stats.
Yeah. Yeah, nothing to complain about there.
Not at all. Okay, so that was our last gold card. We're moving on to colorless. We've got a couple of these. First up, we have Dollhouse of Horrors. It's 5 mana for an artifact. You can pay 1, tap it, exile a creature card from your graveyard, create a token that's a copy of the exiled card, except it's a 0/0 construct artifact. In addition to its other types, and it has this creature gets +1/+1 for each construct you control. It gains haste until end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery. So not only
this card is sweet.
Yeah, it is, because not only are you getting the enter the battlefield trigger for whatever that creature is, you're also going to be able to get an attack trigger. So it's pretty sweet for 1 mana. And it's kind of it's creepy. The art is quite creepy. It kind of reminds me of The Shining a little bit.
Yeah, and the token sticks around. I don't think it goes away, right?
No, it does stick. Yeah, it does. So and they just keep getting bigger, right? Because you get more and more constructs.
Yeah, and it's counting artifacts. So at the very least, the creature's going to be a 2/2.
Yeah,
because it counts Dollhouse and itself. And then it's just going to keep getting. They're all going to keep getting bigger from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very cool card. Lantern of the Lost is next. It's 1 mana for an artifact. When it enters the battlefield, exile target card from a graveyard, and then you can pay 1, tap, exile Lantern of the Lost, and then exile all cards from all graveyards, then draw a card. And we get cards like this in sets periodically, sort of like, Tormod's Crypt is kind of like the earliest card I can think of that has this effect, and they seem to always get a little bit more generous with what they do, right? Like Relic of Progenitus, you can either, it has the activated ability where you exile a card from your opponent's graveyard, they get to choose what it is, and then I think you can either sacrifice it to exile all cards from all graveyards, or you can sacrifice it to draw a card.
Well, I think it's both, but do you have to pay one? Here, instead of just guessing.
Yeah. Let's not just spend the next 15 minutes guessing.
Let's see if we can remember this one. Okay, yeah. Tap, target player exiles a card from his or her own graveyard, and then there's pay one. So no tap involved, but you pay one, you exile it, and then you exile all cards from all graveyards and draw a card. Yeah. So it's kind of like the second half of Relic of Progenitus.
Yeah, that's the beauty of Relic, is that you don't have to tap it, right? You can use both abilities if you have the 1 mana.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if you're using the second ability, you probably don't need to use the first ability.
No, probably not. But no, just my point being that, we get cards like this fairly often, and so it's nice to, and I know there are cards where, I think there's one from Theros Beyond Death that was a similar artifact, and you had the option to sacrifice it to...
it's like Soul's Lantern or something?
Something like that. And it was exile all cards from all graveyards. I think that one just hit opponent's graveyards, actually. Or
Soul Guide Lantern.
Yeah, and then sacrifice to draw a card, but it's just nice when we get this kind of Relic of Progenitus effect.
Yeah, because Soul Guide, like you said, it has that tap, sacrifice, exile each opponent's graveyard.
Yeah.
And then it has the other option of pay one, tap it, sacrifice it to draw a card. So it's nice that this one gives you both. You get the exile everybody's graveyard. So a bit of a downside there if you care about your graveyard. But then you also get to draw a card, just like Relic. So just another great option. Honestly, Colorless, people should run more graveyard hate.
They should.
I love my graveyard decks, so I'm always sad when people play graveyard hate. But it is the right call, and this is just one way that WotC's trying to entice people more and more to convince them for their own good that they should run graveyard hate.
Hey,
you get a card out of it.
Yeah, everybody. If you don't have, they should do a Scavenger Grounds reprint, but like change the name and give it the effect where when you sacrifice it, you get to draw a card. You better yet, sacrifice it, search your library for a basic land.
Ooh, that'd be hardcore.
That'd be good. Replace itself. Yeah, everybody, run your graveyard hate, because like if Riley has a couple cards in his graveyard, get him. Oh, Riley's got a card in his hand. Get him.
You better exile his entire hand and graveyard. Otherwise, he's going to go off.
There was this game that we played recently, and Riley just really got targeted by somebody else at the table, and it was just it was just like any time he was like, he gets any kind of card advantage, any kind of cards in his graveyard, anything starts to happen, it's just like, I gotta get him.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got Eric over there popping off, and it's like, I've got one card in my hand, and like my graveyard was just exiled, and yet I got the hand and graveyard attack all at once, just for my one card. He had like a mitt full of cards, and I was like, oh my god, are you serious?
Okay, so last up here we have the lands. So just the enemy slow lands. They completed the cycle. So, for example, we have Deathcap Glade, enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or more other lands, taps for black and a green, and they gave us one in all the enemy colors. That's really, it's really nice that they're just completing these land cycles very quickly, even like set after set, because there are still land cycles that they haven't completed, and some that they don't need to, because they weren't great land cycles to begin with. The Odyssey filter lands are a good example of that.
Oh god, I hate those lands.
Yeah, don't stop putting them in commander decks. We don't want them.
Yeah.
But it's just nice. Like these are great fixing. They're great in commander for multiple color decks, because most of the time you're not going to be playing this in a situation where it is entering the battlefield tapped. And even if you are, hopefully you can drop it turn 1 or turn 2 when you might not be doing anything anyway. So I'm just so pleased that they completed the cycle so quickly.
Yeah, I agree.
And last but not least, we have Valderran Estate. Taps for a colorless. Also taps, pay 1 life, add 1 mana of any color. Spend this mana only to cast a vampire spell, Flavorful. Then you can pay 5, tap it, create a blood token. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each vampire you control. So it could just be a tap effect if you have 5 vampires.
Yep.
Which is nice.
For sure. Yeah, just tap to create a blood token. Yeah, pretty sweet card.
Yeah, I like that it's the pay 1 life, and you could definitely make that work for you. Losing life and whatnot. And it is flavorful, but it kind of makes me think of Sliver Hive, where it taps for a generic, and then it just taps for 1 mana of any color, and you use it to cast sliver spells and make sliver tokens, which I guess is flavorful. But this card reminds me a lot of that card. But most of all, what I like is the ability to make all those blood tokens, right? Like early game, it can fix you, it can get vampires on the battlefield. But then, it's not going to take too long to just be able to create a blood token for tapping your land. So I love lands that can draw cards, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, everybody. Well, that is going to do it for our Crimson Vow set review. If there are any cards that we missed or you're excited about, or you thought we were just completely dead wrong about, you can let us know in the comment section of wherever you listen to this. You can send us an email, even though that's pretty old school. If you want to get in touch with us, really the quickest way to get a response is on Instagram. Turn 1 Soul Ring the podcast on Instagram. And we're going to be back next week to discuss the commander products associated with these Innistrad companion sets. Thank you for listening, as always. And, just take it easy until next week.
You better.
Bye, everybody. Take it easy now.
See ya.